Hello and welcome to the ConnectAvoice Documenting Services training video. In this video, you'll learn the importance of service documentation, how to document services, and then what to do if a service is incorrect or doesn't make sense. Since Supporting Independence provides waiver services that are paid for by the Ohio Department of Medicaid, services are monitored by the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities and the Ohio Department of Medicaid. The general rule with documentation is if you don't document it, it didn't happen. So even if you know you do your job well and do it every day, if it doesn't get documented, you didn't really do it. Failure to document can cause various types of problems for other people, anywhere from other DSPs to the entire agency. Lack of documentation means other staff may not know what has been done for the individual, and they may not know that the service or medication gets provided more than needed. So if you don't document it that you have passed a medication, the medication could get passed twice. During state reviews, the agency may be cited for failing to provide documentation for services, especially if there is no proof of follow-up disciplinary action for the DSP who didn't document. So documenting services in ConnectAvoice is really easy. From the individual's home screen, you just click on the three bars on the top right of the screen, and then this menu will pop up. This is the menu that you will use to access the different things you will be documenting on. To document services, click on Services and select the name of the individual you will be documenting services for. Once you click on the individual's name, you will bring up the list of services. These will be grouped into categories. You should become familiar with what services need provided so you know what services you are going to be documenting on. When you're ready to document a service, find the name of the service you are going to document and then click on it. Read the description of the service. Select whether the service was completed, not completed for any other reason aside from refusal, or refused. No matter which option you choose, you should provide a detailed explanation. So an example of a service that is completed would be John's chicken and vegetables were cut into quarter-sized pieces, no issues during dinner. An example of a description for a service that was not completed would be John's oatmeal did not need to be cut for breakfast, no choking issues during breakfast. And then an example of a refused service. Staff attempted to cut John's spaghetti, but he screamed and took his plate. John ate his food without it being cut, no choking issues during lunch. Click on Record Perform Service when you are done. Once you record the service, you'll be taken back to the services menu. When the service is recorded, the numbers next to it will read 1 out of 3 instead of 0 out of 3, or however many times the services are to be provided. The number next to the service is the expected times the service would be performed. It isn't a maximum or minimum normally. So, for example, if John has a snack, he may need food cut up 4 times instead of 3. We certainly wouldn't tell you that you can't cut up food the 4th time because it wasn't listed in ConnectAvoice to do it. You can still document past the 3 times. Check all of the services until you have completed them. Pay special attention to the services that say per need instead of 0 out of 3 or 0 out of however many. These services may not need to be provided all of the time, but the guidelines should be followed. For example, if you are working with someone and they have a per need service that says staff will encourage the individual to use calming techniques, and you did that, you want to make sure that you document on it, even if it just says per need. On the slide, there's an example of correct documentation and incorrect documentation. When you're clicking completed, we need to see more details than just done. So a good example of a completed service is John's chicken and vegetables were cut into bite-sized pieces to prevent choking, no issues during mealtime. An incorrect example is just done or completed. Service documentation should be complete and thorough. Checking completed and then just writing done is not acceptable. You should talk about how the service was provided, where the service was provided, any other details that we may need. When service reports are pulled, there isn't a lot of context, so to get accurate information shared with the right parties, service description should be complete. If the service is not provided, do not simply check not done and move on. Explain why the service was not provided if you tried to provide the service again, any details regarding the service and it not being provided. If something has changed recently for the individual, it may not be updated right away. This might cause incorrect or confusing services. If a service for the individual is incorrect and you don't know it to be a service that you have to provide or a service that has been discontinued, call management so the service can be updated. If a service doesn't make sense, please contact management for clarification. Since services are pulled out of the PCP, if the PCP isn't up to date with the correct information, the services may not be up to date. If you see a service that is continuously refused or doesn't make sense, it may be that the individual no longer needs the service. Contact management for further instruction. More often than not, we're going to have you record or track when these things are being done or when these things are being refused, so we can maybe contact the SSA and perhaps get services changed. So the troubleshooting section, we're just going to troubleshoot some issues that may come up with the documentation portion of Connect Voice. So blank services are an issue that happens occasionally. If the services for an individual are blank, it usually means that the individual's span date has ended. If this happens, contact management right away during the same shift you notice it. Blank services are not an excuse not to document because they can be fixed right away. Not being able to clock in also means not being able to document. So if there are any issues with service documentation aside from blank services, contact management for what other steps to take in the meantime. These issues should be brought up at the beginning of your shift. Please don't not document for a week and then tell us, hey, I haven't been able to document for a week. This absolutely should be brought up when you clock in. That is the end of the documenting services training video. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to any member of management and we will do our best to help you out. Thank you.